Did you know that theoretically, anyone of any faith can become the monarch of the United Kingdom, as long as they are part of the royal lineage? But there is one glaring exception: Catholics. If a member of the royal family converts to Catholicism, they are severing any claims to the throne. Do you know that until 2013, being Catholic or marrying a Catholic meant you couldn't be a member of the British royal family at all? When the law changed with the succession to the Crown Act of 2013, it allowed Catholics and those married to Catholics to remain members of the royal family. However, they are still barred from the line of succession. For instance, when Lord Nicholas Windsor converted to Catholicism in 2001, he was automatically removed from the line of succession, despite being born into the royal family. Yes, in a country that prides itself on democracy and diversity, the British royal family still upholds a centuries-old law that excludes Catholics from the throne. No matter how devout, loyal or capable, a Catholic cannot rule the United Kingdom. Why? What is it about Catholicism that makes it uniquely forbidden in a monarchy that welcomes all other faiths, and even those with no faith at all? To answer that, we must dive deep into history, uncovering centuries of tension, rebellion and betrayal. This is a story of power, politics and a divide that still lingers in the heart of the British Constitution. Stay with us as we explore why the British royal family was wary about Catholics. The roots of this exclusion stretch back to one of the most tumultuous periods in British history, the Reformation. In the 16th century, King Henry VIII broke away from the Catholic Church, establishing the Church of England. What began as a personal feud with the Pope over a marriage annulment quickly transformed into a national schism, dividing the country along religious lines. For the next 2 centuries following the English Reformation, England found itself in the throes of bitter and often brutal religious conflicts between Catholics and Protestants, each phase marked by its unique intensity and impact on society. Queen Elizabeth I's reign saw the establishment of Protestantism as the state religion through the Elizabethan religious settlement. This period was characterized by a cautious balance between Protestant reform and Catholic traditions to avoid open rebellion. However, despite this attempt at moderation, Catholic plots like the Babington Plot and the infamous Gunpowder Plot of 1605, which sought to assassinate the Protestant King James I, underscored the deep-seated tensions. These events led to tightened control over Catholics, with laws restricting their rights and imposing fines for non-attendance at Anglican services. The reign of the Stuarts exacerbated these conflicts. King James I, while Protestant, tried to maintain a semblance of peace, but his son Charles I, whose marriage to the Catholic Henrietta Maria of France fueled Protestant fears of a Catholic restoration, plunged the country into civil war. The English civil wars, while multifaceted, had significant religious undertones, with Puritans seeking to further reform the Church of England away from Catholic influences. Oliver Cromwell's Commonwealth period saw severe persecution of Catholics, with many losing their rights or being forced into exile. With the restoration of the monarchy under Charles II, there was a return to Anglican dominance, but the period was rife with anti-Catholic sentiment, culminating in the Test Acts, which barred Catholics from public office. The exclusion crisis sought to prevent Charles's Catholic brother James II from succeeding him, fearing a return to Catholicism. James II's brief reign attempted to grant religious tolerance, but his pro-Catholic policies and the birth of a Catholic heir sparked the Glorious Revolution in 1688, leading to his ousting. The final blow came with the Glorious Revolution of 1688, when the Catholic King James II was deposed by his Protestant daughter Mary and her husband William of Orange, their crowning of solidified Protestant rule. However, the Catholic threat was far from extinguished, with Jacobite uprisings seeking to restore the Catholic Stuart line. These included the Jacobite risings of 1715 and 1745. Though they were ultimately unsuccessful, they left a legacy of fear and suspicion of Catholic allegiance to foreign powers. These events entrenched Protestantism as the official faith of the monarchy and cast Catholicism as incompatible with the British crown. These conflicts left a profound mark on English society, shaping its religious, political and cultural landscape. The religious divide influenced everything from legal rights to social status, with Catholics often marginalised. The result? Laws like the Act of Settlement 1701, explicitly banning Catholics from the throne to secure the Protestant succession. This wasn't just about religion, it was about power, control and national identity. Catholic monarchs were seen as potentially loyal to foreign powers, namely the Pope, and therefore a threat to the sovereignty of the British state. This fear of divided loyalties would shape British law and culture for centuries to come, leaving a legacy of exclusion that persists to this day. But what about now? Why has this rule survived, even as Britain has embraced other faiths and modern values? To understand that, we must first explore the exact mechanisms behind this exclusion. The Act of Settlement 1701 was a direct response to the fears and conflicts that had plagued England during the previous century. With Catholic monarchs like James II viewed as threats to the Protestant establishment, Parliament took decisive action to ensure that no Catholic could ever sit on the British throne again. The law explicitly stated that only a Protestant could inherit the crown. It went further, forbidding any royal from marrying a Catholic. The rationale? To secure the Protestant succession and safeguard the Church of England as the state religion. This was seen as critical to maintaining political stability in a country that had been torn apart by religious wars and conspiracies. The Act wasn't just a legal barrier, it was a symbolic declaration. By excluding Catholics, it reinforced the idea that the monarchy was not just a political institution, but also a defender of Protestantism. It sent a clear message. Loyalty to the Crown and loyalty to the Church of England were one and the same. But the Act also came with contradictions. While it forbade Catholics, it didn't exclude people of other faiths, or even no faith at all. This peculiar loophole highlights that the exclusion was less about religion itself and more about the specific historical conflicts between Catholics and Protestants. In essence, it was a political safeguard disguised as a religious decree. Over time, the Act of Settlement shaped the very fabric of British monarchy and society. Even as Britain evolved into a more diverse and inclusive nation, the exclusion of Catholics remained untouched, a relic of a bygone era. In the centuries following the Act of Settlement, additional laws reinforced the exclusion of Catholics. The Royal Marriages Act of 1772 required all descendants of King George II to seek the monarch's consent before marrying, with the underlying fear that a royal might marry a Catholic and jeopardize the Protestant succession. This strict framework remained in place until the Succession to the Crown Act of 2013, a long overdue reform aimed at modernizing royal laws. Under this act, royals could finally marry Catholics without losing their place in the line of succession. This was heralded as a progressive step, reflecting the UK's commitment to diversity in a multicultural society. However, this reform did not go far enough. While marrying a Catholic is no longer forbidden, being Catholic remains an insurmountable barrier to the throne. The reason is simple. The monarch is still required to be the supreme governor of the Church of England, a role inherently incompatible with Catholicism. This creates a paradox. A future king or queen could marry someone of any faith or no faith, but not someone who practices the religion that once dominated Britain for centuries. Even today, the Church of England's unique role in British governance ensures that Catholic exclusion remains a cornerstone of constitutional monarchy. The exclusion of Catholics from the British throne is just one chapter in a broader story of religious suppression across the UK. In England, Catholics were forced to practice their faith clandestinely, gathering in secret chapels for fear of fines or imprisonment. It wasn't until 1903 that Westminster Cathedral, the centrepiece of Catholic worship, was completed, a delayed symbol of gradual Catholic resurgence. In Scotland, Catholic worship was criminalised, and education for Catholic children was restricted. The goal was to assimilate the Catholic minority into the Protestant majority. In Ireland, the penal laws stripped Catholics of basic rights, forcing them to tithe to the Protestant Church while living under economic and social oppression. For Irish Catholics, the exclusion from the monarchy symbolised broader disenfranchisement. Public opinion on this issue is divided. While younger generations see the exclusion of Catholics as outdated, others believe the monarchy's Protestant identity is essential to British tradition. What if a Catholic royal ascended the throne? Such a scenario would challenge the constitutional role of the Church of England, potentially requiring major reforms or even disestablishment of the Church. It would test the monarchy's ability to adapt to a modern, diverse society. The exclusion of Catholics from the British throne is more than an outdated law. It's a window into centuries of religious conflict and political manoeuvring. As Britain moves further into the 21st century, the question remains, should this rule be abolished, or does it still serve a purpose in preserving tradition? What do you think? Should the British monarchy evolve to reflect modern values, or should it remain a defender of its Protestant heritage?